Police identified the married couple killed in a murder-suicide in Johnston County. This is Christopher Pugh and Teresa Adams Pugh. They were found dead inside their home Saturday night with 911 calls causing a SWAT response. WRIO's Carly Haynes is live outside of that Garner home after speaking with family and neighbors there. Shocking all around. Very sad story, Carly.
It began with a call that wasn't supposed to exist, a woman's desperate voice, a man's calm denial, and a silence that ended with 2 lives destroyed. Teresa Renee Adams Pugh, a grandmother, a YouTuber, a mentor, the life of every family party. Her husband, Christopher Pugh, a respected builder, a mentor, a man admired in his community. Together, they looked like a storybook couple. But on March 22, 2025, inside their quiet home in Johnston County, North Carolina, everything unraveled. Neighbors heard gunshots, police waited outside for hours, and by the time they entered, both Teresa and Christopher were dead. There was no note, no explanation, no history of violence, just a marriage that appeared perfect, until the night it ended in blood. So how did a love story turn into a tragedy? How does silence hide the deadliest storm? And why did no one see it coming? This is the story of Teresa and Christopher Pugh. And tonight, on Crime Gone Viral, we reveal the truth behind the call that changed everything. Welcome to the channel. Here we tell the stories others overlook, where every detail matters, where every silence is questioned. If you're new, subscribe and join us as we uncover the hidden truths behind the headlines. If you are ready, let's dive in. It was a quiet Saturday night in Spring Creek Estates, the kind of night where porch lights blink off one by one, and the hum of suburban calm settles in like a lullaby. But at exactly 11:43 p.m., that silence was shattered, first by a phone connection, then by something far more chilling.
What's the emergency? Hi,
A call rang into Johnston County 911. It lasted seconds. No words. No screen, just breathing. And then the line went dead. Following standard protocol, the dispatcher called the number back. Christopher Pugh answered. His voice was steady, even friendly. He said there'd been a mistake. But behind him, barely audible, a woman's voice pleaded, desperate, "Help me, please." And then, 4 words that would haunt the dispatcher forever. "Why do you want to kill me?" Those words didn't match the calm tone of the man on the line. The dispatcher kept him talking. She strained to hear the woman, Teresa Pugh, her voice cracking with fear. The dispatcher flagged the call as a potential domestic emergency and dispatched units immediately. By the time officers reached 10 Cheney Drive, the house appeared normal. No lights flashing, no movement in the windows, no visible chaos. And then, gunshots, echoing from inside. Officers froze, protocols shifted. Now this wasn't just a welfare check. This was a potential hostage situation. More deputies arrived, negotiators were brought in, but North Carolina law required a search warrant. Even with gunfire reported, they couldn't enter. Not yet. So for hours, law enforcement waited outside a house where something unspeakable had already happened. From the outside, Teresa and Christopher Pugh were everything people wanted to be. A love story rooted in church gatherings, family barbecues, and endless celebrations. She was the stylish, confident matriarch, a fashion YouTuber, church secretary, mother of 4, grandmother of 14. She decorated for Christmas like it was a national competition. She showed off Dollar Tree hauls like they were treasure chests. Her channel wasn't about numbers. It was about connection, and people loved her for it. Christopher, on the other hand, was all structure and substance, a builder, a teacher, a man who literally taught people how to lay foundations. He founded a construction academy, mentored veterans, gave second chances to people who needed them. He was the blueprint of success, a self-made man building homes and rebuilding lives across the Carolinas. Together, they were a power couple in their own lane, one rooted in faith, family, and community. Facebook showed them embracing at family reunions, laughing at cookouts, worshiping together at church. They smiled, they danced. They were the ones people pointed to and said, "That's what love looks like." They raised 4 children, watched 14 grandchildren grow up. They hosted parties so big, neighbors had to move their cars. They gave generously to their church. They dressed like they were going on a date, even if it was just to the grocery store. It was the kind of life that looks unbreakable. But then you look closer. They presented as a love story, but over time, it felt more like a performance. Perfection online often hides fractures offline. And the longer you watched, the more something started to feel off. When someone shares their life online, they leave behind more than memories. They weave a trail. In Teresa's case, that trail is pixelated, filtered, and softly lit. But beneath the surface, the tone was changing. Her vlogs had always felt like casual conversations, updates from the passenger seat, grocery hauls from the trunk, hair tutorials in her bedroom mirror. She'd laugh about hot flashes, share how to stretch $1, and drop gems about staying fabulous at 50. She'd smile, always smile, but more often now, it didn't quite reach her eyes. We often think cries for help are loud, but sometimes they're barely audible. A line buried in a 12-minute vlog, a blink too long, a laugh that feels forced. And now, every one of those whispers feels like a scream no one heard. Christopher Pugh didn't just build homes, he built dreams, his own and everyone else's. Born in East Raleigh, he knew what it meant to start from nothing. He graduated from Sanderson High, studied at Livingstone College, and worked his way up in the construction industry with his bare hands. He learned early that if you wanted something permanent, you had to lay the foundation yourself, and so he did. After 16 years as a licensed general contractor, he launched something bigger, his flagship project, the Pugh Builders Academy. It was more than a trade school, it was a second chance factory. He trained veterans, empowered retirees, mentored young men who'd been told they'd never amount to anything. He didn't just teach them how to build, he taught them how to believe. His seminars stretched across the South, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee. He filled rooms with people searching for a way out and gave them blueprints not just for buildings, but for better lives. On social media, he was articulate, charismatic, posting housing stats one day, motivational quotes the next. He talked policy, affordability, generational wealth. He was one of the good guys, and in Raleigh, he wasn't just respected, he was admired, but something was shifting. Privately, he was dealing with the aftermath of a stroke, maybe more than one. In a vlog, Teresa casually mentioned how he was still getting his motor skills back. She said it with a smile, trying to keep the tone light. But if you watched closely, Christopher never smiled back. He sat still, he said less, and then he stopped showing up on camera entirely. For months, he vanished from Teresa's vlogs. No mention, no updates, just an empty seat where he used to be. And yet, there was no outward alarm, no drama, no confrontation, only silence. This is the kind of unraveling people don't notice because it doesn't come with warning signs, because strong men are supposed to stay strong, because leaders don't get to admit they're lost. But something was breaking in Christopher Pugh. Whether it was the stroke, the stress of running a business, or the mounting pressure of being everything to everyone, he was crumbling quietly behind the image he'd built so carefully. He was a man defined by structure, and now his structure was failing. The entry team moved with precision, body cams on, weapons drawn, adrenaline high. What they stepped into was stillness. No signs of a struggle, no overturned furniture, no forced entry, just a home, frozen in time. The smell of gunpowder still hung in the air. Teresa lay in one room, Christopher in another. Both had been shot. Neither had survived. The home, once a backdrop for fashion halls and family cookouts, now held the eerie quiet of sudden, irrevocable loss. Investigators turned to the couple's digital footprint: phones, emails, social media. They searched for clues, anything that might explain the horror of what had happened. What they found was absence. No financial collapse. CB Pugh Enterprises was still operating. Revenue was steady. Debt was manageable. No signs of infidelity. No recent arguments documented. No restraining orders. No history of domestic violence.
Hey y'all, happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
We're at Mother's house and the guys have hibachi catered for us today. Let me show y'all. Let me turn the camera around. Isn't that sweet? Isn't this nice? The guys are so sweet. Thank you guys. Yes.
We're gonna have to sit down all
We're all sitting here eating hibachi. Hi, ladies. The ladies in the family. Woo, it's hot out here. Got ladies over here. My auntie, cousin, niece, granddaughter, my mother, niece, daughter-in-law. Isn't this sweet? I did.
The news didn't land softly. It crashed. When family members heard about Teresa and Christopher, it was as though the ground had shifted beneath them. This seems like it came out of nowhere. Teresa's cousin, Josette Battle-Going, said, her voice laced with disbelief. Anytime she posted about them, it was nothing but good things. Family group chats, once filled with laughter and holiday planning, transformed into threads of confusion and heartbreak. Messages that once felt routine now felt like lifelines slipping through their fingers. Friends and neighbors watched in stunned silence as the quiet street, once full of laughter, backyard barbecues, and family gatherings, turned into a crime scene. Melissa Mattis, looking through her front door, described the tragedy as upsetting, because you don't really know what people are going through, in their life and in their family home. All who knew Christopher saw him as a gentle, quiet presence. "My pawpaw never yelled at us. You can't even say you saw him mad." Chaired granddaughter de Adam Smith, mourning the purity of his love for her grandmother. His mother-in-law, Marion Shaw, remembered Teresa as the life of our family party, forever sprinkling joy across every gathering. She was the glue that held generations together. Shock didn't begin to cover it. There were no signs. No neighbor heard raised voices before. No hint of domestic strife had ever pierced the bubble they lived in. Even the existence of a gun in their home was a revelation. They didn't even know he had a gun, the family would say later, stunned by their own blind spots. One neighbor recalled how the Pughs supported local children, dropping by lemonade stands with quiet generosity that fit their unassuming character. Yet within hours, that same street became a standoff zone, barricaded by SWAT teams, negotiators using loudspeakers urging any sign of life. Chris was a good man. He just did the wrong thing, Marion sighed. The quote hangs heavy, painful to live, jarring to say. In the fractured quiet that followed, grief and questions tangled. Family members replayed videos and old vlogs, a wave of nostalgia now tainted with hindsight. Comments Teresa made about going through some things resonated like breadcrumbs foretelling tragedy. And then there were the reactions online, haunting truths emerging from strangers. They hid their problems from everybody. Her body language in those pics is very rigid. Her smiles aren't genuine. Just because their fights weren't seen doesn't mean they didn't happen. These whispered reflections, angry, empathetic, sorrowful, stood in stark contrast to the Pugh's polished public image. Unknown to anyone, the quiet man behind the camera had cracked. A woman who shared everything had silently carried too much. And now, those final videos felt like grief letters no one read in time. The phone went silent. 2 people were dead. But the questions, they kept echoing. The big why. Financial stress? Investigators found no evidence of financial collapse. The construction business was reportedly steady. No bankruptcy filings, no financial red flags. Hidden illness, medical or mental. Teresa's brief vlog confessions hinted at anxiety and depression. Christopher's health had visibly declined after a stroke. His motor skills decreased. But there were no documented mental health records, formal diagnoses, or logs of therapy. The whispers were there, but not on paper. Domestic tension or violence. Family members emphatically denied any history of abuse. "They didn't fuss in front of us. You can't even say you saw him mad," said granddaughter to Adam Smith. His mother-in-law added, "Total surprise. He adored her." Police records confirmed no prior 911 calls, no investigations, and no restraining orders on file. Without a note, motive, or recorded confrontation, the why fades into speculation. Lingering rumors and unanswered echoes. In the absence of firm answers, theories multiplied. Was this a tragic accident gone fatal? Could a gun go off, intentionally or accidentally, during a heated moment triggered by health or emotional collapse? Was there an external crisis? Could hidden debt, undisclosed illness, or something unspoken, like shame or fear, have driven them to an extreme act? None of these theories have been substantiated. Investigators released nothing confirming or ruling out such possibilities. The official classification remains murder-suicide. The heartbreak stands not in the what, but in the unknown why. Why did they never reach out to each other, or to anyone, for help? What was going unspoken behind those carefully crafted smiles? And could someone have seen the fault line before it broke? We may never know. But what remains is a call, in the silence, in the heartbreak, to take notice, to ask the questions that refuse to die. We close with a chilling fact. In the United States, between 1,000 and 1,500 people die each year in murder-suicide incidents, most involving intimate partners, and tragically, with women as the victims and men as perpetrators. That breaks down to nearly 20 to 30 deaths every week, reality that's easy to overlook until tragedy hits home. In over 93% of domestic murder-suicide cases, a firearm was used. Access to a gun isn't just a risk. It multiplies the fatality rate by nearly 500%. These aren't crimes of fleeting passion. They are crimes of control and despair, demanding urgent attention. Domestic violence isn't just a criminal justice issue. It's a public health emergency. A recent review found that a staggering 90% of domestic abuse-related suicides or homicides were tied to failings in healthcare response. Shockingly, 26% of women under mental health care who died by suicide had experienced domestic abuse. Even more disturbingly, suicide linked to domestic violence now outpaces intimate partner homicide in the UK. This reflects a distressing global pattern, hidden, pervasive, often invisible until it's too late. And it's not just about abuse, it's about context. Women impacted by domestic violence are far more likely to be unemployed, financially unstable, and clinically vulnerable. These are risk multipliers that quiet statistics fail to capture. Mental health experts caution us, silence can be the loudest warning. You might not hear a cry for help, but you can see it in the eyes that hesitate in videos, in the cheerful posts that tremble with fatigue, in the favorite coach's absence from the frame. If terror is brewing behind a smile, even a forced one, you can interrupt it. Teresa Adams Pugh lived a life many admired. Grandmother to 14, fashionista, church leader, mother, wife, creator. Her smile lit up every room. Her camera captured beauty, family, joy. Christopher Pugh built homes, taught others how to build their futures. His message was about creating life, until one night he took it all away. We search for answers in stories like this, grasping for logic in tragedy. But sometimes there is no tidy explanation, only the cold truth that not all struggles are visible. Perfection is often performative. Behind filtered photos and family events, real pain can hide. Silence can be a red flag. A partner growing distant, a sudden drop in social media posts, a smile that doesn't quite reach the eyes. These are not quirks. Sometimes they're warnings. 20 years doesn't guarantee safety. Longevity is not a safeguard. Love, when mixed with control, pressure, or untreated trauma, can become a weapon. Violence doesn't always look like shouting. It can wear a calm face. It can whisper. It can wait. Remember, not every victim shows bruises. Not every abuser raises a fist. Often, tragedies begin between frames of smiling videos and polite goodnights. This wasn't just Chris and Teresa's ending. It was a stifled plea, a muted collapse beneath a perfect facade. It's a call not to be ignored, anywhere, anytime. What we take with us from this story: strength is silent, but shouldn't be alone. Success doesn't shield suffering. Connection can deter disaster. Right now, someone you know might be silently struggling. Ask, listen, believe them. Offer help even when they say they're fine. If you're in crisis, or if someone you love is, help is always available. If this story stirred something in you, love, fear, a need to act, let that flicker turn into action. Reach out directly, compassionately, consistently, because even the quietest voices can echo the loudest if we choose to listen. Because once someone becomes a headline, it's too late to help. But it's never too late to change how the next story ends. If you're with us tonight, subscribe, share, and show up. This is what Crime Gone Viral does. We bring light to hidden fractures, because sometimes the best way to prevent tragedy is to stop ignoring the whispers. Until next time, stay vigilant, stay compassionate, and always ask the question that might save a life. This is Crime Gone Viral. Thank you for watching. God bless you.